Hello and welcome everyone to the Awakened Flame Network. I'm the Awakened Jenn, and this is the very first Light Leader Spotlight where we feature way showers and healers who are walking their talk and lighting the path for others. Today, I have the deep honor of introducing my friend and amazing mystic in her own right, Jen Huber, a healer and a shamanic guide whose connection has been truly life-changing. In one of our first sessions together, Jen led me through a soul retrieval where I was a little girl alone on a raft in the middle of the ocean. She reminded me that I was the ocean and that I had nothing to fear because I was the power I was seeking. She told me then, before I even knew it, that I was surrounded by a team of guides, and that once I felt safe in my body again, that my spiritual vision would open and I wouldn't even need my cards to connect to spirit. That session opened my trust in spirit in ways that I could have never imagined. So it's incredibly special to share her magic with you all tonight. Jen, welcome to the Awakened Flame Network.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here with you.
So I am so happy that you're here too. Tonight we'll talk about your path into Tonight we're going to talk about your path into shamanism,
Hmm.
what soul retrieval and journey work really are, and how
Okay.
people can begin walking closer with spirit in their everyday lives. After our conversation, Jen will lead us in a short live shamanic journey, and we're also going to open up questions in the chat. So if you have questions, go ahead and be putting them in the chat, and also let us know where you're coming from.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll just go ahead and get started.
All
Are
right.
you
Well,
ready?
I am. And that being said, this would be a great time if you want to kind of do the shamanic journey with us later on. Make sure you have some water around available with you, because after you get done with that, it's really good to have that next to you so you can ground yourself, and you're going to want that before we start.
All right. So the first question we're going to be talking about, what first called you into shamanism? Was there a moment when you just knew that this was your path?
Ooh, yeah, there was a moment. There was a lot of big moments that happened. Um, you know, when we're on our spiritual journey and on our spiritual path, we can look back now and see that there was many, many moments and many, many invitations and many callings to walk our journey, right? However, sometimes when we're in them, we don't know what they are. And it wasn't until, gosh, nearly a decade ago now that I went through a really, really, a lot of people might call it a dark night of the soul, but I went through a really, really dark time of change and loss and grief. Um, and it was really a point where I always say that spirit came in and was like, sit down. And I did, because it brought me to a place in all of that pain, in all of that kind of upheaval, that I was finally kind of forced into a place of quiet and solitude. I'd always been, like, I'm sure many of the people that watch, and I know you can probably relate to this too. We were talking about our Capricornness. I was always very much a workaholic, very much focused on, climbing the corporate ladder and those kinds of things. And um, like I said, through a process of a bunch of things, life forced me to go inward and things got very quiet. And it was in that space where, I mean, I honestly felt like I was kind of going crazy, right? And then it was just kind of this massive breaking down. And then in that breaking, if you've ever had a session with me, we talk about, like, when that heart breaks open, that's when that light starts pouring in. And that darkness takes you to a place of surrender when you stop fighting. And once I just surrendered and had literally nothing left, the gifts, the light, the healing, the everything just started pouring in, and it started pouring in really, really fast. And I just had gifts opening up like crazy. And I had met, kind of some people online through meditations and things like that. I had some very valuable connections in and people in the spiritual community that spirit brought in for me to connect with that were really game changers for me and offered me a lot of love and support. And one of them was I had a session with a medium, and he said something about shamanism, and I will be vulnerable. And in that moment, I was like, a what? And a bunch of stuff poured through him. And then I just sat with that. And then things in my physical reality, the synchronicities just started pouring in that was like, oh, this is a path of that I'm meant to walk and follow. And it just poured in naturally. There was just like the downloads, right? Of how that all came in. And it was definitely, there was a moment that I remember being outside and standing on this rock and having this feeling. And I was like, I could hear the invitation, like, are you ready to walk this? And I really didn't know what that meant. And I was scared and excited. And I said, yes. And then look out.
So, where were you before this? So what was the pre-Shaman Jen? What was her life like?
Oh my gosh, it couldn't be more opposite. I spent many years, I was a FedEx operations manager.
That's very different.
Very different. And then after that, I went to, which, you talk about the breadcrumbs, right? Something in me pulled me out of that environment because I just wasn't happy. I was like, this doesn't feel good anymore. And I had this yearning and desire out of nowhere to go to landscape design school.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I later got a degree in landscape technology and design. And where that put me was being a plant and tree broker. And that job included me spending, I think it was close to 12 years outside, walking in nature, hand
Being
selecting
prepared.
trees and plants and all that kind of stuff. And like now when I look back, like that was such a part of my path because I spent hours and hours and hours connecting in nature, and hearing those messages now come back, and in the teachings and the energy that I received in the healing during that time on that career path was very essential to the shamanic path, because shamanism is very
Very,
focuses on your connection with nature,
yeah.
or
That's one
in
of the things
connection with nature.
I'm intrigued by it and would
Yeah.
love to learn more about. So when you felt the call to shamanism, like I feel like that there's still this moment of like, who me? Did you have that kind of like imposter syndrome?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Um, and then through my own shamanic journeys, which I can kind of touch on what that is right now. A shamanic journey is a deep meditative state where you are able to kind of go between dimensions and worlds. The word shaman means to see in the dark. So a shaman goes and travels to these other dimensions and is able to be a seer in the dark places, and then weave and bring that energy back to earth and brings that wisdom back down that they learn in those spaces to help heal the planet, ourselves, and each other. So very early, that is, I learned, it just kind of started to come to me how to do shamanic journeys, and I would spend literally hours every day, and that was what my life had become, of just going on these journeys and just seeing so much. So
Yeah.
that is where all the learning happened. I didn't read a
Honing.
book. I didn't, go to school. It's that direct connection to spirit and allowing the messages and the guidance to, flow in through you, which is, shamanism is a practice that's, centuries and centuries years old. And the role of a shaman back then is much different than the role of maybe a shaman now, because we're living in a very different place, right? And so I guess where that imposter syndrome kind of that we talk about is like, back then a small group or a community they were chosen by their community, right? We don't live in those communities now. So just in our humanness in our mind, in our very 3D way, it's like, how can you accept this calling if another human didn't tell you that's what you were?
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the walk, is to just embrace and know that I've been called to walk a certain path. What we call it, does it really even matter?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can get caught in imposter syndrome when we start labeling things and people.
Well,
However, if you're just walking your purpose in your path, there's no judgment there because it's your purpose in your path.
one of the questions I was having, and then you just answered it, was, did you feel like you needed somebody to give you permission? And you just said no, like you gave yourself permission, and it's letting go of the labels. And that was something we were talking about before. Just, sometimes you don't need the label. You just follow the calling.
Exactly. And that's, as we talk about kind of like the modern day shamanism thing is, like I said, back then it was a small community. Everyone in your village knew who the shaman was. Everyone in the village knew who the medicine man or the holy woman or holy man was. That, they knew that. Well, we don't live in that space. And so here we are, we're able to sit here tonight and reach people across the entire planet. And it's like, there kind of has to be a word used as a point of reference so people know what we're talking about. And that can really get kind of muddy because a lot of people will say, you can't call yourself a shaman, or you can't call yourself this because you have to be chosen for that. And it's like, yes, but it's also evolved, right? And also, why do we need the label except for just a point of reference so we can have an open and loving discussion of truth?
So, how would you describe your version of shamanism?
I've spent the last year, I can tell you kind of, it's easier for me to tell a little story about it than to just kind of, but I've spent the last year, I had this inspiration about a year ago for, it was like a course for a year, and it was called In Season. And In Season was something that I was inspired to do to better help us connect to the natural flow and rhythms of the earth and the seasons. Because once we can be in the flow of life with the seasons, it's in that space of deep connection that we can be kind of master healers. That there are certain times of year where the energy supports different ways of being. So I guess my feeling of shamanism is helping people and living in a way that connects us to those natural rhythms of the earth.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think we've gotten very disconnected from those natural rhythms. And I mean, look at our big cities are completely disconnected from the natural rhythms.
Right. Right. And, I feel like one of the best examples I can give you, and you from an astrology perspective might agree with this, is that, we all act like the beginning of the year is January.
Yes.
And we all join the gym and we do all these things. And then in 3 weeks, where everyone's upset that they weren't able to, fulfill their gym obligations and get in shape and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's actually not the time of year to be doing that. January is a time of deep rest and reflection. It's actually when we go into the new year and spring where we get the burst of energy. That's when we should be joining the gym.
Yeah, the earth itself shows us. It literally
Exactly.
shows us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's
And
shamanism right there, is that living with the natural flow and state of the earth and the universe. and all there is. I mean, it gives us a map and a way of being that we have completely disregarded.
So I know that the connection to the earth, but you keep talking about to even the, the outer part. So explain that connection, how that ties in too.
Well, isn't it all one?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's all one.
As above, so below. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we're all
Uh,
we're all one. It's one just changing and growing and evolving energy that changes shape.
is this what the walking between worlds means? Is that how you would describe that?
Um, when we talk about the walking between the worlds, it's kind of like going to the other dimensions or the different realms and the different places that are out there.
And when you're talking about the dimensions and realms, can you explain what you mean when you say that?
Sure. So the basic teachings of shamanism, um, they talk about that there being three worlds, a lower world, a middle world, and an upper world, and that you can journey to any one of these worlds at any given time to meet spirit guides, power animals. Each world kind of is a different level of not higher or lower, but just a different way and different teachers in those spaces. And so a lot of beginning shamanic journeys with people when they're just learning you very much set that intention on which world you'd like to visit. I will say that if that anybody that's wanting to learn more about shamanic journeying, Sandra Ingraman has been teaching shamanic practices for probably 50 plus years. She's a pioneer and she's written many books, and there's a small book that is that explains in detail a lot about the practice of shamanic journeying. And I really recommend that someone read that book um, before they just jump in, because when you're talking about being able to see everything, you can see everything. And some things you see can be startling. Some things are there's, you know what I mean? And so it's very good to go in with some sort of a little bit of an understanding and practice on protecting your energy and doing these kinds of things, because the other core um thing to shamanism is there's a lot of rituals, a lot of ceremony, a lot of practice to it, right? So someone that's really interested in discovering like the pure shamanic teachings and ceremonies and things, it's like a lot of things, like there's a way to do it, right? However, there's also, as we shift into modern times, I feel like there's some adapting of your own experiences as you move through and use some of these techniques. Like you can use them as a guidepost, or you could follow them exactly. And that's when I say, follow your own intuition and follow your own calling and your own path on what you need to be shown for your journey.
So what kind of protections do you use before and after?
Well, it's just like anything else. Right before we came on, I said, oh, I'm going to be me. And I said, let's set an intention, right? We set an intention of how we wanted to feel during our time together tonight. And that's the same thing there, is you set the intention of the experience. You call in your guides, maybe your angels. Maybe you have a certain archangel that you work with, or maybe an ascended master, or God, whatever it is for you. But you want to set that intention to call in all the things that love me and that are for my highest, greatest good and highest purpose, right? And then a good spiritual practice outside of doing shamanic journeys that just we can practice every day is, I always tell people, I'm like, you brush your teeth every day, you take a shower probably every day or close to every day. It's like we need to have that same spiritual and energetic hygiene too, of being like, you come out of a big crowd of people. I very physically just go like this, and I say, I release anything that doesn't serve my greatest good. or if I've been on an airplane or anything like that. Before I go into a session with someone, I clear my energy, I set my intention. Before I even came on with you, I set an intention. So it's just good energetic hygiene when you're, moving through life in every moment, not just in the spaces of, a shamanic journey.
So, can anyone learn to do this, or is it specific? Do you have to be specifically called?
I feel like you'll know if it's for you. I have, there are some people that they hear the calling and they want to, have a discussion or talk or have some mentorship or something when it comes to shamanism. And I think it's just like anything. If you know what you know what your feeling is. And definitely if you're going to try to force it, it's not going to work. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But something's for you. But anybody could. Anybody could do a shamanic journey with me. And I don't mean that like because it's me, but just being like, it is a practice that you can quiet your mind and do. I guess what I'm saying is not everyone may be called to do deep dive shamanic journeys for themselves, but anybody has the ability and the gifts to be able to connect.
So we're kind of shifting a little bit talking about soul retrieval, but that's part of what you do in these journeys. So explain that piece so that people understand what soul retrieval even means, because I think that can be like, it feels bigger than what is actually happening. But I'm not trying to downplay it, but it's just like, I think people make this a bigger deal than what it really is. So if you can,
it does sound very dramatic, doesn't it?
It does. Like, yes.
Right. So we all go through traumas in our life. And when we experience these traumas, it's as if a piece of us kind of gets shattered off. Like, picture a piece of glass. If that glass is broken, a shard might kind of fly off, right? So what ends up happening in these traumatic moments is we don't really remember them. There's pieces that we don't remember, and those pieces are kind of out there. When I take people in sessions on, I guess, my kind of style of soul retrieval, it's basically the shamanic practices for me come in and help me see the places where that break happened, or that place where you became disconnected from yourself. So that's where kind of the intuitive stuff comes through. That's where the shamanic kind of seeing in the dark comes in, is I'm able to see and be shown because I'm listening. I'm listening to your guides. I'm listening to my guides. I'm seeing things and be like, for an example, hey, I want you to remember a time. I want you to see yourself at the age of 3. And it usually will start with a feeling in the body. And we'll connect to that feeling, and then we'll follow the feeling. And I'll just be asking you questions and guiding you, just almost like a meditation, right? We're just going to take a walk together and be like, what do you see? And I'm seeing things, and we're talking, and I'll ask questions. And what ends up happening is we're able to go back. It's almost like we're time traveling, to go back to that space and time where you became disconnected and find the truth. Because what ends up happening in that moment that we become disconnected is that's when the story develops. The story that our mind had to come up with to try to make sense of this trauma. So when we can go in and find the truth of what happened and kind of take that story apart and find the truth, that's when you're able to put that piece of trauma into healing. So it's almost as if like inner child rescue.
Yeah.
Is that we get to go back and we're going to go see that 3-year-old and we're going to tell her the truth of what happened, and we're going to connect to her and give her love and healing and all those kinds of things. And you are going to bring her forward with you. So you've now kind of soul retrieved that part of you to embody back into who you are now, and give that part of you love and compassion that it probably didn't get in the moment of the trauma that it needed. Because most of us at 2 or 3 years old, and sometimes even 52, can't really express what we really need. And maybe it wasn't, one, we didn't have the words to ask for it, and two, maybe we didn't live in a home where we could do that. So it is a process where we go together and you rescue you. I just happen to be on along with you to say, what about over there? What about over here? And that's all coming from that divine guidance through that journey space that I've entered.
I've experienced the power of that, and I do appreciate your work. So how did you get into like the inner child stuff though? Because I mean, that's really your main focus. How did you get into that?
Well, it was interesting. So I met, I was working with another person who was a wonderful influence on my life, and we became a coaching partnership. And we were, or she already knew Lee and Sherry Patterson of Relationship Reinvented, and they had developed something called Root Camp, which was all inner child healing based. They are on YouTube. I think they're twin flames, Lee and Sherry, but they teach and help people reconnect to themselves. So in a way, they're doing soul retrievals through their own process as well. Maybe it's not a shamanic style type thing, but they have their version of that. And so that worked beautifully as it kind of weaved together with the soul retrieval practice of shamanism and this inner child healing to kind of come together for me. But that is where the focus of inner child healing came from, was from Relationship Reinvented. And it is a program that I coach as well now. I do root camps and I bring the shamanism piece into it. But that was a really, really important kind of learning process, because I went through it. They didn't teach me how to teach something. They took me through it.
Yeah. Before we got on, you said that you sort of learned that the shamanism was more of the tool to help you do what you actually do. So,
Right.
like, can you expand on just that, just the thought of that?
Right. So shamanism has given me like this beautiful toolbox of guidance and practices. And shamanism has always also given me a way of life. You know, I don't practice shamanic practices, a couple hours a day. When I took that invitation, I committed in that moment to a completely different way of life. And then when it came around again last year, when it says, are you ready to commit yourself to an even deeper way of life with living with this real deep dive into the in seasons? And I said yes to that again. So it's like, I've committed to following a path. That is my divine path for me. And so I'm living it in every moment that I can. And of course, am human and have an ego and fall down and trip and learn and heal and stuff. But that is, for me, it's a way of life.
One of the things that, okay, so I am a channeler, and so I will get the information and they will be spot on. They will be spot on, but I still have trouble trusting it. So do you have that, or are you past that?
No, I don't.
You're just full trust at this point. And I mean, you've been on the path a lot longer than me. And so I think that that's just something that comes with just, I mean, repetition and practice and just doing it over and over is
Yeah.
my expectation.
Yeah. So the other thing that's interesting about that is it's I'll ask you a question here. Is it them that you don't trust, or is it you?
It's me.
It's
It's
you.
me.
Right.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
I'm just like, I've seen them be right so many times. And it's like, why would you doubt this time? Because it
yeah,
matters to me. Because it's
yeah,
something that matters to me.
Yeah. The medium that I had that reading with, he gave me a piece of advice very early on. He said, just say the thing. Just say it. Just say the thing. Don't doubt it. Don't question it. If it doesn't resonate, don't worry about it. Just say the thing. Because I have literally been in intuitive sessions to where I've said things like, why am I seeing corn dogs? And they're like, and they burst into tears. And I'm like, my
Oh, wow.
mind
Yeah.
doesn't want to talk about corn dogs. It's like, that's ridiculous. But it's like, that was a super synchronicity. And she was like, because I just, had this experience, I was, and it had a whole meaning for her. And so when you start to experience more of people being touched by those words,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm not going to question anything, because if
Yeah.
this is what this can do, if this can help heal this person and feel their heart or connect to a loved one, heck yeah, let's say it.
Say the thing. Just
Say
say
the
the
thing.
thing. I'm doing it, but I'm still just, oh gosh. But I have the most resistance when it's about me. So like if I do a reading for somebody else, it's just, I'll say the
Oh,
thing.
sure. Yeah.
But if it's me, I'm like, okay, are we
Oh,
sure?
yeah. Yeah. I'm same way. Like, there are days where, like, I hear the message and I'm like, okay, and just be like, just feel it. And what I have found is, if in those moments where I'm having all those questions and doubting, I go, I'm not in my heart, because my heart never doubts anything. So the best thing I can say is, when you find yourself in that anxious place or the doubting place, take a few breaths and say to yourself, am I in my heart or in my head? And you'll go, oh, I'm in my head. Say, well, Spirit, please help me get in my heart. And take those breaths and settle into your heart. The Lakota have a saying, and I think probably many different cultures have said similar, but it's, the longest journey you'll ever take in this life is from your head to your heart.
Wow.
And, sometimes it's a journey throughout life. And also sometimes it feels like we take that journey about 1,000 times a day to keep coming back to your heart, to keep coming back to that place of love.
How do you know when you're in your heart?
You can feel it.
Yeah. You get back in your body again.
Yeah. Yeah, you can feel it, because your thoughts can't feel.
Yeah. So how do people know if this is the right type of work? Like if they're looking to work with a shaman, how do they know that this is the right path for them?
This spiritual journey is all about following your intuition and following the feeling. And I would say, if you're feeling a gentle nudge and you're being called to someone, they keep kind of popping in your consciousness, or you keep feeling that draw, just like to anything else, right? That you're guided to do. Have a session with someone, and see what it feels like. Not what you think about it.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
people will come into a session with me and they'll be coming in with pages and pages of things they want to talk about. And I'll just simply say, take a breath. And we drop right down into the heart, and then it's over. Like, now we're in this space of connection to where you can feel and hear truth. So, notice how your body and the synchronicities and how you feel when you get that nudge, maybe that you might like to try something. And and if you have a session with someone and it doesn't resonate with you, then maybe that one's not for you. But there's always something to learn from every experience we have.
Well, what you just said, I love that I didn't have to tell you my whole life story to have the journey with you. In fact, it was just like, it's better just to and just let spirit do the work. And because it was exactly what I needed, and it got me out of my head.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd already spent enough time running over those thoughts. So, this was the moment to let the thoughts go. And like you said, just kind of now listen to spirit, listen to your body, listen to your heart.
Right.
So I appreciate that you're like the way that you set up your sessions, because I mean, they're powerful.
Yeah. You can sit down with anybody and talk about your thoughts all day long.
Yes.
Why would you do that when, I mean, you can do that anytime you want. Well, I mean, you can get into your heart anytime you want, but whoever taught you how?
We
And
haven't been taught.
that's what a session's about, is the showing and the teaching and the learning and the guiding for you to be able to fall into your heart so you can hear your own guidance. Because you have just as direct connection to source as I do, or the next person. The only difference is how do you know how to quiet things down and connect to it? And that's what a session will do, is to give you the space, the love and support so that you can experience what it feels like to be in your heart again, so that you can practice being there more.
What should people look for a trustworthy practitioner to work with?
Yeah. I don't, it's important not to judge others for however they present their gifts to the world, and to say somebody's doing something right or wrong. I would say follow your gut, follow that pull, follow your heart. If somebody feels like you're drawn to them, follow that. And like I said, even if the experience is not what you thought it would be, I guarantee you there's something in there to be shown for you, right? We talk about that a lot, you and I, with the mirroring and all the learning, right? And the other thing is too, I will say, is that I feel it's really important to understand that no one, going into a session with a healer or a shaman or any other kind of divination for change, it's important to remember they are not the person healing you. That is something sometimes that I can see a lot, is that people will book a session and be like, here's my money, heal me.
Yeah.
And that's not, you're the healer. You're the shaman. You're the healer. You're the light being. The person that you have a session with is a way shower and a helping hand and a guide, and maybe somebody that's experienced some things and has come back with some wisdom that can be kind of like a navigation tool with you. So don't expect that you're just going to have a session with a shamanic practitioner and be like, I'm healed. And then I guess the flip would be, is I would maybe question someone who says that they can just heal you.
Yes.
Without your help, right? I believe it's a combined, connected effort.
Yeah.
There are things that in shamanic practices and a shamanic practitioner can do where they can help remove energies, they can cut cords, they can do that kind of thing. In my sessions, these are things that we do together, because I feel that it's important that you learn how to be the gardener of your own energy. Yes, I mean, I have someone that I work with that helps me with my energy because sometimes I need help.
Yeah.
So it's all about the connection that you have in this space of helping one another, you feeling empowered to where you can connect your own light and be your own healer. That's that's modern day shamanism right there.
I mean, I feel like that every healer should be pointing you back to your own power. Yes.
Right.
How can a client prepare for the session? What do they need to do to be ready to work with a shaman?
Session with me, all I require is that you have a nice quiet space and a glass of water, and come with an open mind. I mean, if you come into a session with the idea that you can't, this is dumb,
Yes.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of resistance there, so try to come as open as you can. And obviously, if you're booking the session, you're probably already open, right? But yeah, there's nothing else required to prepare than, for me, is just a glass of water and some quiet time. And I always recommend that you have a little bit of time afterwards, because as you know, some sessions can be pretty emotional, and sometimes you need kind of that time to integrate. Maybe you want to go for a walk, or you might be really tired afterwards. So I think what I told you was, and what I
I've
tell lots
cried
of people,
every time. Every time I've cried.
I'm like, you just had open heart surgery, like energetic open heart surgery. How would you treat yourself if you literally had physical open heart surgery, right? It would be like, you would not make yourself go back to work. You wouldn't, like, you would take that downtime. And that's, I feel like, a really important part of it too, is to not make sure that, you have a session from 3 to 4, and at 4:05, you're going into a business meeting or something, or have to
Yes,
run, go
it'd be
get your
bad.
kids at 5 minutes later.
Definitely be bad.
You want to have some chill time, because you might be really tired, or you might feel kind of high as a kite, but you need that integration time afterwards. It's probably more important than the preparing.
The next question was, what does the integration look like?
It can feel like many things. It can feel very freeing. It can feel like a chain of aha moments afterwards. It can also feel heavy, like you've just discovered a truth. Perhaps maybe if we've uncovered some trauma or something like that, and you found out the truth of the situation, and there could be some sadness and heaviness because you're letting go of the story once you found the truth. And even if a story isn't, say, helpful, you're still letting go of something. And anytime we let go of something, we deserve to honor that letting go and the grief. So it can look, it can look like many, many things. It can be, and it can be all the things, afterwards. It's just really important to be with yourself in that space afterwards, and stay connected to your heart, and allow whatever feelings to come up without judgment.
I wanted to add that our sessions were virtual sessions. We did them on Zoom. And so for anybody that needs the confirmation that you can work this, without even having to be in present, I am the proof. I am absolutely proof, because I've had 3 sessions with you, and I mean, every single one of them have been powerful, and I mean, just complete transformative. And so you don't even need to be in the physical space in order for this, to work. How do you explain that piece? I mean, I know the answer, but how would you say this?
Connection knows no bounds. It just is.
Literally the interconnectedness that, of everything. And so, yes, if you're connected to the earth, connected to the stars, connected to everyone around you. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask one more question before we turn it over to the viewers for their questions. So go ahead and be putting your questions in the chat if you have direct questions for her. But for those hearing the call, what is one simple practice that they can begin right now to start them on this path?
Meditation.
That makes sense.
Meditation. And I hear this all the time. I don't have time to meditate. Well, when you start living a more heartfelt, spiritual, connected life, the things that you think are really important start to fall away, and time is different. Your priorities shift when you start meditating and opening up. When you start feeling, everything shifts. But it's a practice.
And for those that don't know exactly how to meditate, Can you give just like that piece?
You know, everybody's a little bit different. You know, there's a lot of apps out there with guided meditations. Start with guided meditations because it's really a lot to just sit down and just be dead quiet. I mean, it's nearly impossible because you just don't know how to do it. So start with guided meditations. Find someone's voice that you like. Find it with good music. And, you know, if you're 1 minute into it and you're like, I don't like the way this sounds, switch it up. It's just like everything else. It takes practice, you know, but once you find something that resonates, it's really interesting. You know, it's like I said, it's been nearly a decade. I found one morning meditation that I started doing back then. And do you know, I still do that same meditation every single day. I think like I'm probably every view that woman has on YouTube.
Oh, it's the exact same video too.
Yeah, it's
Love
the
it.
exact same one every day because that's what it's a 10-minute one. And that's the one that I use first thing in the morning to set the tone. And then I'll journey or I'll have spiritual discussion with myself and spirit and pray and do all the things. But it starts with developing a practice and really realizing it is a practice like anything else. And you can also, you know, get a coach, whether it's something like someone like me or someone who's a spiritual guide of some sort that can help you with that. That's one nice thing about sessions is because when we do a journey together or a meditation, you're getting kind of that flavor and that feeling too. And we can help develop a practice for you that feels good for you. Ask questions, find some support, you know, because there's very little things in this life that you can just naturally do without having to learn it.
Exactly. I don't know why
Right.
we forget that piece, which is we're
Right.
supposed to instantly
Yeah.
be experts.
Yeah. No, it's a process of remembering.
So, again, I want to turn it over to the viewers. This is your opportunity to ask any question that you have about shamanism, soul retrieval, and the um, shamanic journeys. So I'm going to give it a few minutes and see if anyone puts any questions in the chat. And if you just want to kind of prepare them for what we're going to do next, the journey that you're going to do for the collective.
Okay. So what we'll do for this will be just kind of a little bit, we'll set the intention for this to be kind of a small sample and a flavoring, because oftentimes in sessions, and I think you've experienced this too, is we'll go into that place and it feels like it's 10 minutes, but it's been 45. Right. And because we're going deep, 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 and we're doing something very personal and unique for you. So when we do a journey in this setting where there's, you know, you're here, I'm here, the other people watching, and then those who might be watching this later, because spirit knows who's going to watch this later, is that we'll set the intention to just do a short kind of, and it's going to be just like a meditation that like you've listened to before is what it is. Um, and I never know what they're going to show me, because what ends up happening is I close my eyes and I set my energy and my intention. And then for me, I start to see almost like a movie play. And then I'm kind of describing what I'm seeing to you. Okay. So it's a channeled vision.
Vision.
It's not a script. It's not something that is planned. I honestly have no clue where it will go, but we'll just set that intention, I think, tonight to help people, a short little trip to help people feel what it's like to be in their heart.
Like it. All right. Well, as soon as you are ready, I think we are ready because we don't have any questions. So I'm going to change the
Okay.
screen here.
All right. So it's important that when you're watching this, that you're not doing anything else, not driving or doing any other kind of task. This is something that you're going to want to do, you know, sitting down, or you can lie down. But it's not something that you want to do because it is a meditative state, and we are wanting to get into our hearts. So you're not going to want to be doing any other activity. So we'll set the intention to take a journey to the heart. So you'll want to start by taking a few nice, really big, deep breaths. Just in and out. Just feel yourself relaxing in your chair. This is a journey that you could fall asleep to at night if you want to. Something that connects you to your body and your heart space. It's also something that you could do to start your morning before your brain turns on. So just take a few more moments as you settle and take another deep breath in and out. And then go ahead and place one hand on your chest, on your heart. Feel the fabric of your clothing or the touch of your skin underneath your hand. Just take another breath in and out. I want you to imagine that you're sitting by a beautiful body of water. You're outside. You're sitting next to this beautiful body of water and you picture it there. Maybe it's kind of got ripples or a river, a rushing stream, or maybe it's a pond that is just perfectly still. As you take another breath in and out, I want you to make your way to that body of water. Maybe stick your toes in it. And as you take a breath in and out, you look all around and you see the beauty of nature, the trees. As you gaze up into the sky and notice if it's got clouds or if it's clear blue. As you take another breath in and out, you look around and see the trees. Maybe they have leaves. Maybe they're turning colors. But just allow yourself to be held in this beautiful, peaceful space. I want you to imagine that the trees move closer to you as if they could just kind of glide up and support you at your back. And you might even take a breath in and out and lean back and feel the support of all of the trees in the forest behind you. Their deep roots connected to the earth. They form almost a semicircle around you, holding you as if it in a basket of loving arms from behind you as they even drift closer and closer to you and pull you close in to that body of water. And you might look down and see the roots in the earth. As you take another breath in and out, gaze down and see how those Large tree roots are showing themselves and they're making their way to that water. With another breath in and out. Now imagine now, see that water kind of lap up against those roots. See how the earth element and the water begin to touch. And imagine now that these roots kind of scoot you out into the water a little bit and your toes get in there and it's the perfect temperature. You feel the energy of the water and the support of the roots as you're kind of carried out into that water. As you take another breath in and out, just make your way into that water to whatever level feels loving to you. Maybe it just feels good on your toes, or maybe you feel like you want to be embraced fully. But allow that water to just flow over the parts of your body in a beautiful tempo and rhythm, held by these roots, cradled in the arms of Mother Earth, as you allow this water to wash over your body. Maybe you reach in with your hands and you pour it over your head, or you dunk yourself, or maybe you just sit right there, just toes in, whatever feels loving to you. And I want you to imagine that beautiful earth energy of water and roots, the stability and the strength and the grace and the ease that water carries. Imagine that energy swirling now around you. Maybe you see it as a color. It starts to spin almost like a little whirlpool. Maybe it's blue and green, or it's red, but just allow the earth energy and the energy of the water as they swirl together as one to watch it swirl around your feet and make its way up your body. It's almost as if you're standing in the center of a tornado, that these energies are swirling around you, this beautiful water and earth energy. See those colors at your feet in these beautiful rings swirling up over your knees. Take a breath in. As that swirling energy now comes up over your thighs and your waist, and it gets bigger and larger at the top like a funnel. And it rises higher and higher with each breath in and out. Now it's at heart level. And the visions of the landscape seem to melt away now. And you see this beautiful swirling light around your shoulders, spinning and twirling, sparkling, full of support and love and wisdom. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and taller. And now it's above your head with a large opening above you, this beautiful funnel of this earth energy. And now allow yourself to breathe and to be held in all of this connected energy of love and flow and rhythm. And as you take a breath in, allow any thoughts that you have to be swept away now by that beautiful whirling around you. The busyness of the day, the worry, the fear, just turn that over and allow this beautiful funnel to just pull it right out of your mind as you are held and supported so firmly and divinely in the earth below. And you watch all the things just melt away. And then in this moment, as you're letting go, you tilt your head back up and you look way up into the heavens. And you see a beautiful white light. It's playful, soft, and kind. It makes its way all the way through the sky, through space, any clouds in the sky. This beautiful ribbon of white light as it just falls from the heavens. This beautiful divine light sent from the universe, God, whatever your higher power is, your higher self. But watch this beautiful energy start to fall now from the sky in a beautiful white light as you take a breath in and out. And watch now, you might feel a little warmth or tingle on the top of your head, but allow that white light to fall down over your head as it pushes down, clears away any last resistance. That you feel the energetic and divine force of love flowing over you as you breathe in. It comes down over your crown and your third eye and over your throat. And with a big breath in, it falls over your shoulders and your heart. And it starts to fill your body with light. And as you fall down, watch that light fall into your heart. You see that beautiful green heart chakra just brighten and glow. It fills your chest. It opens up the spaces as you take a big deep breath in. And with your breath, your heart expands and that light travels all through your body, down over your waist and your hips and your knees and your toes. And you stand in this beautiful divine light in the arms and the energy of the earth. As you allow your body and the area around your body to just fill with light, that funnel becomes whole with light. As you are bathed and held in love, you feel the showering of the blessings and the gifts from above, and the earth holds them close to you like loving arms. And as you take another breath in and out, you allow that funnel to become closer and closer and closer, as if it just wraps its arms around you, and you wear that earth energy like a blanket. And the energy of the heavens remains in your body, and you embody the energy of above with the energy of the earth. And as you take another breath in and out, it's in this space as that light just continues to pour through you and you're held in this space. You can ask your guides, angels, for any messages as you're fully connected in your heart and held. Need to take a few more breaths in and out. Slowly start to see the landscape appear again. As you find yourself back in that space next to the body of water, held in the roots of the trees, the breeze on the wind. And in this moment, we Give our thanks to Spirit and our angels and our guides and the earth elements for being with us today and holding us, grounding us, and flooding us with love, allowing us to feel the peace and connection, to embody these energies. As you take another breath in and out, and slowly start to open your eyes.
Okay, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I'd love to hear in the comments anything that has come out, what came out for you during the journey. So for those that are feeling called to go deeper with you, can you share the different ways that they can work with you?
Sure. You can go to jenhuber.com. You can book sessions there. I would love to connect with all of you, and we can feel into what you might like to heal, what you might like to start feeling. It's my passion to help you discover your authentic self and to remember how divine and how full of love you really are, and to support you in walking a path that ultimately brings more of that into your life every day. Because when we are in that shifted energy of love, that we can experience even more. So you can do a session if you want to check out more of just kind of the things that I talk about and discuss. I do have a YouTube channel. I've just started it. It's Journey with Jen Huber on YouTube. And it's also Journey with Jen Huber on Instagram as well. But those are the ways right now. I do feel that there will be another, I don't know what we'll call it, but in season will continue in some form.
Oh.
I feel like it's helpful for people to have kind of the guidance as we move through the seasons, and to be reminded what the energies are supporting at certain times of the year. So if you want to be on my email list, you can sign up on my website, and then you'd be the first to know of any kind of specials or events or journeys that we would do around that. Because oftentimes I'll pop up and say, let's do a journey, and we'll do a Zoom, and you can come and experience a journey with lots of other people and do a deep meditation to connect with the season or the animal associated with that season. So,
Well, my favorite way to work with you is the intention setting ceremonies, where you had the big ball, the sound ball. Oh,
yes.
those are amazing. So all the links are down in the description box below, to her website, to her YouTube, to the Instagram. So you have ways to contact her and get connected. So I want to thank everyone for being here. And thank you, Jen, for sharing your wisdom, your medicine, and your heart with us tonight.
Oh, it was an honor. Thank you.
If something opened with anyone during the journey, trust that the path of shamanism isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe so that more people can experience this kind of healing that we just shared tonight. So do you have any final messages that you want to leave them with?
Just anytime after you do a journey like we just did, maybe drink some water and feel it go down into your body and kind of ground back down into your body before you move into the next activity.
We do have a question right here from Spirit Dragon Cosmic Alchemy. If you feel you may be a part of the shamanic energy, but maybe don't feel quite ready yet, is that okay? I know that she has been told in many different ways that she has shaman energy, and she is the one that has the imposter syndrome that I was talking about earlier. So I'm glad that she showed up.
Yeah. You know what? Just take your time. Everything is divine timing, and how you honor your feelings is the most important thing. But I'll leave you with the question. Is the fear or hesitation that you have moving down any path for anyone here coming from your mind or your heart?
Same question for me. Well, thank you again. This has been amazing. So I'm going to close it out there. And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.